Greetings, sorry souls. We are into our last week of 2021. Today is Tuesday, the 28th. Now, first of all, I don't like to be too much of a broken record, so if you did not catch my overview for the year of 2022, you may want to scroll down and click the Rasa Leela Healing channel where you can access my 2022 overview for free on this YouTube channel. You may want to click the subscribe button while you're down there to get future updates. And maybe while you're checking out the video description, you also want to visit the Rasa Leela community website. I've got a lot going on there. Just uploaded a 4-hour Q&A yesterday. This week, we have Kairan, the wounded healer, going into the Astro School. Folks, if you've never checked out your natal Chiron in your birth chart, if you're unfamiliar with this centaur planet, I highly recommend you check out this material in the Astro School. About 3 hours of video material. This is some of the most useful information in terms of using astrology as a healing modality. Chiron reveals where we have the experience of woundedness that initiates us into the journey of healing, that brings us full circle into being talented healers ourselves. Where we are healer, where we are healing throughout our life is all revealed through Chiron in the birth chart. So again, RasaLeelaCommunity.com. Check out the Astro School for those interested in learning more about your birth chart or astrology. Okay, a little bit of an intro. I just want to make sure I get to these points. So here's a table of contents. I am going to speak to Chiron. It's going to be going on this week. Today, Jupiter is entering into the sign of Pisces, where he will mostly be this next year of 2022. I'm going to touch upon the current Venus retrograde. We'll talk about Mars. And then mostly what I want to cover for today is our new moon in Capricorn, because Saturn is square to Uranus, and this is a big transit. So this is going to be a bit of an unusual Capricorn season this year, end of 2021 into 2022. Now, an interesting little correlation is this next year of 2022, we're going to see the new moons at the very start of the month, pretty much throughout the entire year. So this is a nice little coincidence because we have 12 months in an annual solar cycle, because we have roughly 12 moon cycles a year. So everything that we use in terms of time, the 12 digits on an analog clock, I mean, this is all reflecting the astronomy and the astrology. So what's kind of cool is that these new moons for the next year is really going to set the tone for each and every month. So we're talking about a new moon in Capricorn on January 2nd that's going to set the tone for January of 2022. The new moon in Aquarius will kick off February, etc. Now, where to begin? Tomorrow, the sun is going to square Chiron on the 29th, and so this new moon, which takes place at 12 degrees of Capricorn, is also going to square Chiron, the wounded healer. This, again, I began by saying, is a really important planet. Chiron was only discovered in the 70s, but has made its way into prominence for astrologers because it's such a useful source of information coming from our solar system. So there is a healing journey that is going to be taking us through January. Chiron's also very involved in the current Venus retrograde. Venus stationed retrograde the same day that Chiron stationed direct, and where Venus will station direct at the end of January, start of February 2022, will be in an exact square to Chiron. So I've spoken to this Venus retrograde being a healing of the heart. And there is a tremendous drilling up and purging out of prior fears, inadequacies surrounding money, relationship, and the exchange of resources. Again, I don't want to be too much of a broken record, so check out some of the prior videos where I go in depth about this Venus retrograde. this can bring up a lot of inner content. Venus retrograde is not totally solid about what we value or what we want to share or how we want to share it or how we want to structure our lifestyle and relationships. This whole period is an experiment to really discover all the above, and that's going to continue through this forthcoming month of January. It is an introverted tuning in to discover what we love and value. And that's some of what I'm going to speak to in this video that I see as a theme in these coming weeks is there is an exploration. And where there's an exploration, there's a discovery. So there's more that we have not yet uncovered. There can be an uncertainty. There is haziness right now. See, we are kind of in an in-between phase. You know, these last weeks of December into January, in-between period is a little less direct. So there is an introversion and exploration, self-discovering. Here I encourage us to simply experiment. We're learning more about ourselves, what makes us tick, our own sense of taste. And so part of Venus retrograde is an individualization, where we're discovering more of our unique style, taste, and system of value. This again is going to very, very much play out in terms of the world of business, money, resources. And folks, this is setting the tone for 2022 in general. The moon's north node is going to enter into Taurus these next coming weeks, and then Venus will station direct, ruling the north node. So 2022 begins with this huge shifting to money, exchange of resources, and is it working and is it stable? And generally what I'm going to be saying is that now would not be the time to have something perfectly all together. Chances are, you know, obviously this is going to be a reading for millions of souls, so we do have our own individual seasons and cycles through life, but generally, Saturn is square to Uranus now into April of this next year. I mean, this is going to be, an actual square that is really bringing up this crumbling of the old. I really want to speak to Saturn in this video. I have a very nice Saturn mug shot as the cover video. You know, Saturn's pretty serious. It's about getting to work, it's about getting to business, and that's where this Venus retrograde is this digging in to discover what do we value, what do we want to share, what's that unique individual sense of taste, so we can form a structure for this lifestyle, for this relationship, for this collaboration, for this business opportunity, and a lot is going to continue to change. It's not all figured out, it's not all settled going into 2022. We're going to start getting more of that stability, settling, and sense of direction as we enter into February when Venus stations direct. But right now, there's more of an exploration and an experimentation. How do we want to lay this foundation? How are we going to structure our life? And there is a instability, a restructuring, a changing around of the pieces on the chessboard. And that's generally what we want to be open to. Something I'm going to be very much sowing a seed for on this new moon. And again, a new moon is the beginning of a new month, a new moon cycle. So a new moon is always an opportunity to sow a seed intention that can unfold through the forthcoming month. All of my witches and magicians, we take full advantage of these moon cycles. They are extremely they bring in a tremendous amount of awareness when we pay attention to these 12 roughly moons a year. So new moon in Capricorn is about getting to business. How are we functioning in the real world? Do we have our feet on the ground? Are we protected? Are we safe? Do we have all of our physical security and physical needs down? And again, this is going to kick off 2022. The new moon, 12 degrees Capricorn, is in trine to Uranus, 10 degrees Taurus, and the moon's north node is going to transit Uranus, I believe, this next October. So there's going to be this theme of completely exploring how we're relating to the world. Again, money, structure, business, but it's all changing. It is this need to change. This is where I want to talk about Saturn. So, get ready for the mythological facet of this video. Traditional astrology, I'm going to mention some traditional astrology. I'll talk a little bit about traditional ruler of Pisces being Jupiter, where Jupiter is moving into today. But Saturn used to rule two signs. Before the discovery of Uranus, Saturn ruled both Capricorn and Aquarius. And these are the two sides of Saturn that we don't always see well represented out there in pop astrology world. What we most assume to Saturn in Capricorn season is the traditional side of Saturn. Saturn is the past. It is history. It is the conditioned behaviors and experiences that we've had. So an example of classical conditioning is when that scientist Pavlov rung a bell, fed a dog, rung a bell, fed a dog, rung a bell, fed a dog, and after so many repetitive, redundant conditioning experiences. See, conditioning is where we actually create these rules that are like an automatic response coming from our body and our consciousness, not forethought, but instructed through this restriction or limitation or negative reinforcement. And this is all of what Saturn rules. Negative reinforcement, limitation, restriction, penalty, punishment. So we've had this type of classical conditioning nailed in. And Capricorn season is oftentimes where we are doing the best that we can to function in society and to get our jobs together. And we're preparing to pay our taxes. And it's a post-Christmas back to work, back to business, and can sometimes be a little bit heavy or depressing or cold. Classical, traditional Saturn. Now, what I'm going to share in this video that makes this particular Capricorn season unique is the fact that Saturn, the ruler of Capricorn, is in a third quarter square to Uranus, the modern ruler of Aquarius. However, before Uranus was discovered, Saturn ruled Aquarius. And this is the lesser known side of Saturn. But we see the lesser known side of Saturn roughly 1/3 of the year when Saturn is retrograde. Saturn direct, more traditional, more strict, more forward. Saturn, the boss, the father, the authority. Saturn retrograde, Saturn's association as traditional ruler of Aquarius is the rule breaker, going against the grain, challenging authorities, defying society. Aquarius is iconoclasm. That's where we deface all of the old gods and religions, which in and of itself is a revolutionary act, Uranus, Aquarius. It also can be a liberating act. Jeffrey Green, the founder of evolutionary astrology, drew the comparison between Saturn and Uranus as being the difference between the grenade, Uranus, and the steel box, which ultimately gets blown open by the liberating, defying what is known, innovative sign of Aquarius and Uranus. But this is also the Saturn retrograde side, where Saturn's challenging his own rules, his own expectations and obligations. The Romans celebrated Saturnalia, Saturn's big holiday, by breaking all the rules. Slaves became owners, owners became slaves, everybody cross-dressed, women were men, men were women, and of course there were huge orgies because it was Rome. So this is the other side of Saturn, and we're really, really living that this year of 2021 and 2022, because the third quarter square between Saturn and Uranus is about the breaking out of tradition, or rather the crumbling of tradition. It doesn't work anymore. the phrase I've been repeatedly saying is something has got to change. The third quarter square, especially between Saturn and Uranus, is a crisis of consciousness, because what we've been running on is no longer working. The old society, the old culture, the old job, the old structure, the way that we used to relate to others and exchange resources and earn money, it's not working. This is a global collective phenomenon at this point. We need to experiment, invent, innovate, take risks, do something different, go where other people dare not go. That's what I highly suggest we take in terms of our compass point direction under this new moon. Because Saturn has both of these faces. We could try to hold on to the old and ride that old ship while it's sinking, while it goes beneath the surface. We could try to run back into our old workaholism. We can try to go back into our own roles. That is traditional Capricorn season, is it not? Christmas is over, get back to your job. You spent a bunch of money on presents, so you better impress your boss because you need a raise. Well, I don't suggest this approach under the Saturn-Uranus square. This is about breaking the rules. This is the difference between the Saturnarian work that we're used to, which is to continue those conditioned behaviors. Just like the scientist Pavlov, who trained his dog to respond to a bell. And that meant we were about to get fed, right? It's like we all have these automatic responses. What a good girl's supposed to do versus a bad girl's supposed to do. What we were trained in traditional religion. This new moon's on the south node of Jupiter. Traditional religion can really be a theme that's up right now. And you know what? We have to throw out the bathwater. And that's going to be a little bit challenging to keep that baby totally intact when we do so. Maybe we need to invent some new technology here, a bath pump. That's going to be some of the innovation of this Saturn-Uranus square. We need to break out of these traditional roles and conditioned expectations and obligations where they're limiting, oppressive, and revolving around us, bending ourselves out of shape to fit a cookie cutter mold that's not who we are. This Venus retrograde is again all about individualization. We have to discover our unique sense of taste, what we love, in order to be qualified to enter into any relationship. Can we have a relationship if we don't know who we are? If we don't know what we want? If we don't know what we like or our sense of taste? No, and there's a lot of people out there in the world working through their Venus complexes because it's a part of their soul's evolution. It's not like they're lesser than or they're being punished, but hey, we've got to learn who we are and what we like and what fills us up and gives us a sense of meaning and makes us feel good before relationship in any way, shape, or form. So this Venus retrograde is an individualization. It's a tuning in. It's an uncertainty. We don't have to be attached to the same old pathways, schedules, or traditions, but we're probably reviewing them is going to be this Venus retro in Capricorn. We're looking at tradition. We're looking at old religion. We're looking at our past relationships. My goodness, there's a tremendous amount of processing past interactions, past relationships, and maybe even where we've had some heart hurt in the past. That's going to really come up during this Venus retrograde. And again, Chiron is our major indicator here. Sun squares Chiron tomorrow, new moon squares Chiron. In the sign of Aries is where Chiron's transiting. Meanwhile, Mars, the ruler of Aries, squares asteroid Pallas Athena on the 7th and squares Neptune on the 11th. So while Venus retrogrades transiting asteroid Juno, the partnership asteroid, Mars is squaring Neptune. Chiron squaring the new moons in Aries. There is a theme here of healing the body, healing energy, healing the confidence to assert our own direction throughout life. Again, knowing ourselves, knowing our taste, our desires, our wants. That's a part of this exploration. Not necessarily served on a silver platter, but it's a part of our self-discovery. And this can be a time where the weird enigmas, mysterious health conditions, what do we really want and how is that working versus the idle daydreaming, fantasy, Mars rules libido and sexuality. Mars square Neptune is an exploration of fantasy. Mars squaring Pallas Athena is this exploration of actually getting online with what we want to create, what we want to share with others. And this is, again, during this Capricorn season, what I highly suggest is that we're a case study. We are our own case study, and we're looking at, am I trying to force a square peg through a round hole? Am I being driven by the achievement needs or the standards of success that was conditioned by my ex, my father, my last boss, as opposed to what I, in my heart, really see as success? Or what's really exciting to me, what really energizes me, what really motivates me? Well, this next couple of weeks, going into January, there's a little more lacking of that clear direction, or it may seem like we're in the middle of the ocean treading water, and it's like, well, where do we go from here? And what is that exciting path? Or is there even an exciting path? I don't see that opening. And what I would suggest is just take this time to tread that water. Take this time to really explore, experiment, dream, act on our dreams. See, the difference between a fantasy that may be misleading or harmful and a fantasy that can inspire us is how well is it being integrated into reality? Is it giving us energy, or is it sapping our energy? Is it bringing us a clarity of direction, or is it throwing us all around and then we're missing our dates and we're, late for our projects? That's going to be some of this exploration, because this Mars square Pallas Athena and Neptune wants to discover how we can use our body, our energy, our excitement, and our sexuality in a way that's bringing us more of a sense of purpose and a deeper sense of meaning. And it's really filling us up, and it's like wind filling the boat's sail, and it's pushing us into our dreams, and it's taking us into our goals. And we love this life, and we love who we get to share it with, because we get to bring into school for show and tell everything that we're especially excited to share. That's what Venus retrograde's all about. When Venus is retrograde, we're tuning into her Taurus side. We're developing that sense of taste. We're finding more of what makes us comfortable in our day-to-day rhythm, in our body, in our routine. It's about honoring our way and pace. Again, each person will have a unique style, a unique sense of taste. That is meant to be a part of our societal contribution. That is certainly at the centerpiece of our relationships. We have to know our taste, style, and what we like first. This is Taurus. When we have that sense of taste and style, and oh my gosh, I feel so good to be in this body. I feel so good to be in this style, to be in this routine. I love the projects that I'm working on. I love that I get to share what I treasure and cherish in my heart with those that are interested, which is not going to be everyone, by the way. Venus retrograde can be a reductionist process in terms of relationships. We may need to remove some people that are cluttering or interfering or throwing us off, and that's okay. To try to be understood by everyone and to try to be everyone's best friend will simply lead to self-sacrifice. So we're honing in on our values, our taste, our style, and that can also reduce or limit who and how we're relating to others. But this is how we're actually going to clear the space to lay this next foundation. That's what I titled this video, and I would say this is ongoing through the whole next month of January. Again, these new moons are beginning each month through this next year. So my witches and magicians, as you're sowing seed intentions at the start of every month, we're going to see that unfold. This next month, we're clearing the space. It's not like we're even laying the foundation yet. We're clearing the space of all of the garbage and debris from the last hurricane, from the people that were squatting on the location. It's like, burning and clearing that space. And then we're going to lay a new foundation end of January when Venus stations direct. All this tuning into the Taurus side of Venus, what we love, our sense of taste. This is going to lay this new foundation beginning in our heart. I'm really excited for this next year of 2022, folks. The North Node is in Venus's sign of Taurus. And I'm going to speak a lot to Taurus. Taurus is absolutely the gem of humanity, is the gem of all existence. And Venus, like the rest of the feminine sides of nature, was very lost through the Christian era, the patriarchal period. Venus is such a treasure. It's such a gem. It is the reality that what we love, what feels good, what's really tasty, we want more of it, can be a portal to the spiritual world. Can be a portal for our own spiritual evolution, can take us into a deeper, richer, more meaningful relationship with God and more meaningful, rich, and tasty relationships with others. More love, more bliss, more pleasure, more enjoyment as a portal to spiritual advancement. That's Venus. How many of you have heard about this reality of Venus in our mainstream traditional religions? What an amazing treasure and gem that we all get to cultivate a greater relationship with and discover more and more of this treasure chest that's already a part of this setup. It's already a part of this nature. It's already a part of our life. But this is a part of our species discovery. This has been lost medicine. So while we take the time to break the rules, that's the other side of Saturn. We could invest all of our work and energy into holding up the old patterns, holding up the old structures. What I suggest is doing the Saturnarian work of deconditioning. By the way, you can go to rosalilahealing.com/store. I have in my store a workshop titled Saturn and Deconditioning. With this Saturn third quarter square to Uranus, now would be the best time to take this workshop. It's entirely about deconditioning Saturn in your own birth chart. Basically, to give you some confidence to break the damn rules. Is there a God who is watching from on high, measuring our every move to make sure that we're perfect, so that way when we die, we're graded and we will either spend all eternity in heaven or hell? This was a very popular idea for a long time, folks. Speaking of conditioning, we've all had this condition into our souls throughout many lifetimes. Because I hear people say, oh, well, I've never had that experience, and I've been a witch my entire life. I don't believe you. This is on a soul level. This has been experienced by everybody on the planet while we created these mass machines that have been running our culture and society for thousands of years. So we've all been very affected by this traditional Saturn. We've all been conditioned to believe our success is how well we uphold those societal structures. What I would highly suggest is doing the work of deconditioning, which means it takes maturity, it takes strength, it takes capability, it takes confidence to go against the grain, to break those damn rules. Because you know what? I don't think there's a bearded man on high who's grading us. I'm going to be totally honest. I think a much more realistic portrayal of God is a God that wants us to break the damn rules. If you haven't thought about this as an ideological contemplation, I highly suggest contemplating this one. Have you considered how much God wants you to break the damn rules? Where are these rules coming from? Who is the authority? I mean, I've been doing my review of traditional religion and looking in the temples and looking at the books and reviewing a lot of my own education because I've had a lot of this past education, and it's amazing. It's amazing how authoritative, prisoning, Nazi-like, restrictive all these mainstream religions can be. It's just like, holy shit, how can you be so oblivious to what a human being is, what love is, what respect is, while we're talking about Jesus Christ and Buddha and Krishna? It's like, oh, it's the most unbelievable thing ever. And for those of you with eyes to see and ears to hear, this is reality. We have to sort through this fucking mess. We need to invent some type of baby bath pump so we don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, because my God, this type of filtering and sorting is our work right now. So do the Aquarius side of Saturn. Break the rules. Do you know how you discover if a rule really helps, or if it's useful, if it works? Testing it. And by the way, I'm not suggesting that you pick up a law book and find some random law to defy. That's obviously probably not going to result in something very useful for you. What I'm suggesting is we all have constructed these rules in our own psychology. We still see our mom or dad or teacher or priest sitting there with the grade book as if it really matters. And these have been oppressive, limiting, self-sacrificial rules. Everybody's experienced this. I'm on the same planet as you all. I know we've all experienced this in our culture and society that requires this. We all have a social security number here in the United States. You know, it's like you can't escape a certain side of Saturn. That is the nature of Saturn. I know a lot of people who try to escape Saturn, and boy, do they get chewed out. My little one-liner for Saturn is give to Caesar what is Caesar's. The rule I'm not suggesting you break is to stop paying your taxes. I don't know if that's going to work out in such a liberating way for you if you refuse to pay your taxes. And again, I see a lot of people, the sovereign citizen people, a lot of New Agers, it's just like, oh my gosh, well, if you find this little loophole, you get to be completely free. And so I've never paid my taxes and never pay any of my, bills. It's like, I hope you know what you're doing. No, I'm much more suggesting us challenging the rules of this inner conditioned psychology. What a good girl's supposed to do versus a bad girl, what we consider a success, what we're supposed to be doing for our jobs versus those jobs or opportunities to share what we love that we were taught that we can't. Because in the past, we've had experiences with people who did not recognize us for who we are, and they did not support us in recognizing our gifts. That's our work that we are doing ourselves right now. That's where we can become extraordinary liberators of ourselves and others through our willingness to challenge the status quo, our willingness to challenge the norm, because it's not working anymore. And we need to do this review. Venus stationed on the south node of Saturn in Capricorn. New moon on the south node of Jupiter in Capricorn. Jupiter is moving into Pisces today and square the moon's nodes on January 3rd. There's a tremendous exploration of philosophy, goodness, the truth. And is this actually socially beneficial? Is this actually bringing benefit to the greater world by and large? A lot of these traditional rules are damn misogynist, racist, prejudicing, not accepting the total diversity of the creation. Well, that's going to be an oppressive rule. And we live in cultures, societies, and structures. I mean, we're going to see this out there in the world, the racism, the misogyny, the traditional religion, and how oppressive it's been. And then the majority of us, I should say that in quotes, go on believing that that's what God ordained, or this is the actual rules in the game book. And it's like, hell no, these are man-made constructs. So we really need to be looking at our orientation to the collective, Pisces, and is this actually morally beneficial? Is this actually good? Is this actually healthy for me? And is this forming a healthy orientation to the rest of the world? I've got a number one rule and priority when it comes to any belief system, any philosophy, any religion. This is all Pisces, Sagittarius, belief systems, religion, philosophy. We see a lot of our Sag and Pisces people very involved in this world, oftentimes full of dreams, ideals, and blind faith, and that can be useful and provide energy and inspiration, and it can also be extremely detrimental and crippling. So to balance out the Pisces, trust, faith, and surrender, we need the opposite sign of Virgo. The rule when it comes to belief systems and religions is we need to evaluate Virgo, discern Virgo, and then, purify, remove what's not working. Virgo. Does this belief system, does this philosophy form a healthy orientation to myself, my body, and the rest of the world? This is not a blind faith question. This is a proof is in the pudding reflection. This is something we can see and evaluate very concretely. Because you see, when we join the cult of lemmings that are all believing the same thing and acting the same thing, what you do is you go into a delusional bubble. And that's where we're in danger of brainwashing. Well, everybody else is thinking the same way, so that must be reality. Not necessarily. We know what's real and what's not real through a cross comparison with lots of different circumstances, lots of different people in different places with different backgrounds, because what may seem like a natural law may actually just be a man-made construct. And is this actually a one-size-fits-all reality and universe? No, it isn't. But that's what our mainstream religions have been, I would say, across the board. So religion's a Jupiter Sagittarius function. We've got Jupiter entering into Pisces today, where Jupiter will remain through May. And there's going to open up this mystical, philosophical exploration. This is one of the main transits of 2022, so check out the 2022 overview for more on Jupiter in Pisces. But as a summary, very quickly, Jupiter in Pisces really opens us up to synchronicity. There being a multi-dimensional reality where everything does appear to have a mysterious harmony, as if everything were in a divine accordance, a divine dance, and that is the truth. That is the reality of the final zodiac sign, Pisces. There is a mysterious harmony, balance, love, interconnectivity between all things. So Jupiter in Pisces is going to really open us up to this mystical dimension. I haven't mentioned this so far, but another huge incoming energy these forthcoming months is creativity. Creative renewal, artistic rebirth, rediscovering sense of purpose. Jupiter is going to be in Pisces this whole next year, but just wait till March, Pisces season. Magical, mysterious, creative, flowing, mystical. We don't need psychedelics when we've got Jupiter in Pisces. So there's an opportunity for this forming a direct relationship to spirit and having that direct channel to be in tune with inspiration. When we're inspired, we're not thinking so much. We are being carried. We are being a channel. We are like a limb, a part of a greater macroorganism. That's a part of what Jupiter in Pisces can wake us up to. But first, we need to evaluate with Jupiter square the nodes. Is this a healthy orientation? Is this truly good? Is this some type of moralism that we were trained? Is this some type of cultural racism that says that, we have permission to do this? Jupiter square the nodes can become quite manipulative. It's like we're only choosing to see the certain sides of things to enable our own orientation or perspective. Where the very best and most healthy thing we could be doing at this time is consciously reflecting on our perspective, ontology, and orientation, and questioning, is this actually good? Is this actually healthy? Am I actually being honest with myself? Because there's a lot of very rich CEOs that have made some type of McDonald's children's toy that have convinced themselves that they're saving the world, right? Well, we've all got to take a look at this now. The American dream, the religion, the upbringing, is this actually healthy? Is this actually benefiting others? And is this actually me? Is this actually my truth? Does this actually reflect my heart? Just because everybody else in the temple or church is saying and doing it does not mean that you need to too. This is about a process of individualization. I'm going to wrap it up here because, again, check out the 2022 overview video that came out this last week. I put a lot of material out there. Again, a 4-hour Q&A yesterday, 3 hours of Chiron in the Astro School, so I got to catch my breath as well. So I'm going to conclude with this next weekend. This is the weekend of the 7th, 8th, 9th, into the 10th. You know, what we've got is this Mars square Neptune while Venus retrograde conjoins asteroid Juno, the partnership asteroid, sextile to Neptune. There's again this creative opening, tuning into what is true inspiration, breaking the rules. So, you know, this is the truth. By breaking these man-made patriarchal rules, we're going to reconnect with God and creativity and love and our heart. That's why we need the necessary experimentation. And again, please pay your taxes. I mean this in the most helpful and practical type of way. This next weekend, again, there is an uncertainty, treading water experience. Energy levels can fluctuate. We're exploring what gives us energy, what gets us online, what gives us that sense of purpose and meaning. While Venus retrograde is conjunct asteroid Juno, there's this really reflecting on partnerships, and we're really taking our partnerships seriously, and we're really asking questions of how well is this working? Can we do this together? What will be the things that we're doing together? What will be the things that we're doing separately? Because folks, that's the reality of relationship. We're not all just one person doing the same thing all the time. And speaking of tradition, this has been traditional role relationships. Man's in charge, he's the narcissist, woman follows, she's the codependent. That's what we know to be relationship in this day and age. There's only one person. In any real healthy relationship, there's going to be the stuff that we love and we're doing together, and there's going to be the stuff that we don't mutually love and we're not doing together. Wonderful. That's a part of what we're going to be exploring, experimenting, and discovering now, but especially this next weekend, the 8th, the 9th. So, I mean, this is a time of upheaval. Again, the summary here is that we're going in, we're chiseling deep, we're leaving no stone unturned to discover our sense of value, our taste, and then we're beginning to excavate that. We're asking the questions, how can we lay a foundation for this in our lifestyle, our job, and our relationships? And that's going to give us new directions. It's going to give us new priorities that we are birthing through January. So you don't have to put all your eggs in one basket right now, folks. Give yourself this next month to really test what we're working with, the ingredients, what happens when we combine them, trial and error. It's not all about getting it perfectly together. We want to really push on boundaries. We also, make sure that you are doing the excavation of the heart. Mars square Neptune can be into fantasies, can be into dreams. Communicate them. Express our belief systems. Get the feedback from others. How well is this forming a healthy relationship to reality, or is it pulling us into another reality? Well, this is where relationship is very useful to get our head out of the clouds. And how can we make this real? How can we build this together? How can we lay a new foundation for increased love, increased companionship, long-term commitment? We're working together to build something, to construct something that we can get behind because we love it and we've got the energy, we've got the enthusiasm. We're not waiting for the world to give us permission. Oh no, not with this astrology. We're recognizing that it's coming from our heart. That's our permission. We're giving that permission to ourselves. So that way we can set out and create in the world what's not already there. The world isn't going to give us permission to create what it doesn't know it needs. We're discovering that from our own hearts and laying that foundation in our relationships so we can exchange in a healthier, more improved, and more supportive, reciprocative, harmonious, and actually caring interaction with others. Okay? See you next time. If you want to get a mini reading from me, you can join RasaleelaCommunity.com. I do a Q&A every month where you can get a mini reading. I can pull up your chart, look at the transits, and respond to you. What's going on in your life, 5 to 10 minutes every single month. I also put a new Astro School lesson on the community website. Every month you get all of that for $24 a month. So folks, if you want to get even more from me, you can. I'm here. Otherwise, I'll see the rest of you next time. As always, take care.